Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to install the SOS NSX-R chassis bars. So these are bars that SOS made to replicate the OEM Type R bars that come on Type Rs. I'm not sure if it comes on all Type Rs, but at least the O2 Plus Type Rs. And just because these bars are getting hard to find, just like all NSX stuff, a lot of stuff is being discontinued, or if it's not discontinued, it's on really low production schedule. So these bars have been going in and out of production, but they look really nice. It has like a brushed finish. I know it's probably not on purpose, but it's probably due to the extrusion process. But as you can see here, it's a really nice piece. There's some hollow areas in here. Probably, I'm guessing this is made to replicate the bar, OEM bar exactly. I'm not sure, I've never seen an OEM bar in person. But overall looks really nice. The holes are machined very nicely as you would expect. And both bars are the same. Have the same look on the inside and out. And of course these supply you brackets with inserted threads on here, nicely coated already, and hardware, and of course instructions. So of course these bars are wrapped really nicely from SOS as they usually are, individually plastic wrapped, everything in and in Ziploc baggies and stuff like that. And of course, you know, with the instructions, that's what I always look forward to ordering from SOS is English instructions. But this should be pretty easy. For this bar that goes in the front, so this bar sits right in the front right here. There's two ways to install it, and they mentioned that in the instructions too. You can unbolt the radiator, those brackets, unbolt that relay and tilt it back in order to gain access down here. But I'm not going to do that because it's kind of a tight fit. Some people say that they scratch up their arms, and you gotta watch out and don't bend any radiator fins any more than they probably are. The reason being is I don't want to do that is because you do have to cut the plastic shroud in there too to accept this bar. So the recommended way, and the way that I want to do it as well, is to remove the front bumper, which is not too hard at all. So remove the front bumper, you're gonna have a lot easier access to cut the plastic shroud and install the bar. You're not gonna have to like keep forcing the radiator back and all that stuff. You're gonna be able to take your time and do everything right. This other bar should be pretty straightforward. It just goes like basically runs along the top of the battery tray. So let's go ahead and get started. So this video will be a partial video on how to remove the bumper as well, with the caveat that I'm not sure if I have all the OEM bumper mounting spots on this car because it is converted to the O2 Plus. So I believe everything I have is correct, but take that with a grain of salt if you're following along, that I may or may not show you all the mounting spots. But SOS does have a exploded diagram, so you should be able to I looked at everything, and it looks like I have everything in the correct spots. So but just so you know. And of course here's the shot of what you need to cut out as far as the plastic shroud to accept this bracket. And that's where the other bar goes. So let's get started. Okay, so first thing you go on to do in the top side is disconnect the washer fluid pump from the plug. So that red plug you see right there, we disconnected that because I believe it's the tank itself is connected to the whole bumper assembly that we're going to be removing. So you're going to want to go ahead and unplug that. Okay, your results may vary on this, but in order to get to the nuts on the side of the bumper, I just removed this one plastic clip. My fender liner is aftermarket, so it might be easier to move or set aside, peel back than OEM. But essentially I just pull this piece back. In order to pull this back, you're also probably gonna need to release some of the plastic clips on the bottom, like I said, like that one right there. And possibly maybe one of these. Looks like I'm missing one popped out. But these three plastic clips on the side hold this piece of the fender liner to this inner piece. But anyway, just start removing plastic clips as much as you need to in order to get access into the inside for those nuts. All right, so with the fender liner peeled back, you have to remove that nut on that stud, that nut on that stud, and this bolt on the side right here. And then that should be it for these 4 fasteners inside the fender liner. And then we're going to remove these 2 covers and remove bolts in there. And then we're going to remove that bolt right there and that bolt right there. Okay, so here you pop the cover off. You can see that bolt in there. That's a 12mm head, and they're all going to be 12mm. So for this one, you're going to need at least a 10-inch extension or smaller extensions that equate to that amount. So you can see here that if I put this in here, that's a 10-inch extension. So that gives you just enough room to turn it. As you can see on this side, I using a stubby, but you can use a wrench, just like a box wrench as well. For this one right here, you can actually attack it. It's kind of angled, so with your long extension again, you can attack it from this way. So you're just going to repeat on the other side, and then you should be able to unhook your bumper by lifting up and pulling out. Okay, here's a closer look at what you need to remove on the fender wells for the bumper. It's going to be these 2. There's going to be 2 studs going through. Those are going to be the 2 nuts going to remove. And then this piece right here, there's going to be a bolt like this coming through this way, attaching into this piece right here. Here's the 2 studs, and then a bolt going this way. And then you're also going to have plastic clips attaching that air dam to your bumper. And then again, a quick look at these spots where the bumper is mounted on, which is right here. This goes through this is the top one, and these are the 2 bottom ones, so it's on both sides. So again, right here, right there, and then right there. And then the reason why you have to lift up on the bumper is there's hangers. So on the bumper itself, there's hangers, hooks, the hook onto here, so you have to lift up and pull out. And again, here's the attachment points for the 3 bolts. With the bumper off, we're going to want to remove this shroud, and so we're going to pop off these various clips holding it to the car. And then that way we can access the bolts on the side that attach these tow hooks, and attach the brackets for the bar, and also cut the plastic. Okay, there are also 3 more clips on the very bottom besides these 4 that I showed you in the video just now. And then you're gonna have to also release the throttle cable clips and these harnesses with the brown clips from these various spots in the shroud before you can remove it. Okay, I was gonna actually make a separate video on this eventually, but this is a great example of, a lot of people use Dremels to cut plastic like this, but what you really need is just a really sharp razor blade, and I'm actually happy that SOS suggested that as well, because if you use a really sharp razor blade, it cuts through these like butter. You just put moderate pressure, and you can even, look, it's already even straight through, but if you open it up like that and just look how nicely that cuts, and it cuts it very straight. There's no burrs or flashing that you need to clean up. Usually when people use Dremels with a cutting wheel, it burns the plastic, or melts the plastic I should say, and then creates all this flashing on the edges, and you gotta clean that up. Look at how clean this is. So this is the power of just a sharp, fresh razor blade. So if you need to cut fender liner or bumpers or anything like that, just use a fresh razor blade. Clean cut. Okay, so ignore my actual cut. You're gonna wanna look at this dash right here. So this dash is about 2, and then the entire hole is gonna be about 2.5 inches tall. So from here to here, that's 2.5 inches. 2.25 from here to this dash, 2.5 tall. And then lengthwise, it's gonna be close to 3 inches deep. So 3 inches deep, 2.5 inches tall, and you're gonna start cutting 2.25 from this side. And this is the bottom of the tray, this is the top of the tray. Okay, so if you look at SOS's instructions, you're gonna put this bracket right here, but you'll notice that there's a step right here. And so in order to get that to be a flush surface, they provide you these spacers. So this spacer is exactly the same thickness as this step piece right here. So you're gonna put this spacer on here. You're gonna remove these 2 bolts, put the spacer on here, put the bracket on, and then it'll have a flat surface, and then you're gonna replace the bolts back. We're gonna put the spacer behind here. So I'm noticing that there's some play. So I'm gonna snug it up, but leave it a little bit loose before until I get the other side in and the bar bolted in. Okay, so before you try to mount the bar in, I'm gonna take out one of the lower bolts so I can get the bar in. You can either take out one of the lower bolts or loosen this up. Okay, then we're gonna use the SOS supplied hardware. Gonna mount everything loose. Mount everything loose to avoid cross-threading. Okay, so first step is I'm going to tighten the bar onto the brackets and then tighten the brackets onto the chassis second. Okay, SOS specifies these at 16 foot-pounds. And then the bolts to the chassis are 43 foot-pounds. And for this one, I'm using a wobble extension just so I can get the torque wrench clear of the bar. Okay, and that does it for the bar. And now we just need to install the plastic back. You can see here on this side, the dimensions that I gave you guys clears it pretty good. You can possibly even make it smaller height-wise, as opposed to this side. The first time I did it, it is brushing up against the bar a little bit. I could have cut it a little bit deeper this way towards us, but I'm gonna leave it. It's not bad. Okay, and then you're gonna attach the plastic air dam with the various plastic clips, 3 visible right here and then 3 on the bottom, and then these 5 up top. And then of course attach your throttle cable back here and then leave this accessible so you can plug it in later. Okay, this next one's going to be a little bit hard to film, guys. So for the chassis bar, it's going to go underneath here but on top of the battery tray. So the ends are going to bolt into, it looks like these guys right here. So you're going to reuse these bolts. So you're just going to back this out, back the battery tray off, slide the bar in, and then bolt it in with this, and then bolt the battery tray back in. Okay, so in order to get the bar in, I removed these bolts completely off of the battery tray, and I only backed these out maybe 1/4 of an inch. So you don't need to remove it completely. You probably don't even need to remove the battery then at that point, but because the back is still bolted on and this is still bolted on too, it's just backed out a little bit. So I was able to get the bar in, put it in upside down and then flip it, and then there's enough clearance. So then you attach these bolts back in. Okay, and what may or may not be necessary is that this is not fully bolted down yet, and once I bolt this down, these bars are going to make contact. So I don't want them to make noise, so I'm going to just shove these little foam pads that I have in here, and just like probably one, just to mitigate any kind of rattling that there may be. You could use, you know, double-sided tape, you could use a little piece of fabric, whatever, anything, but I'm going to put this foam in here just to mitigate any kind of rattling that may or may not happen. Okay, and these are torqued down to 69 foot-pounds. Tip on removing and installing the bumper. You can see right there is the hook that the bumper hooks onto the chassis with. So as you're installing the bumper, if you're doing it, especially if you're doing it by yourself, you can look down these sides to see whether you hooked it on or not. Okay, and with the bumper installed, we are done. Sorry I didn't show you everything, but the bumper is just the reverse order of what you did to take it off. So pretty straightforward, but you can go ahead and see the chassis bar through the front now, the first bar, and then the second bar you can see through the engine bay or through the front bay right here. So overall, very simple install. SOS's instructions, provided torque specs and everything. Again, the only downside was they did not tell you how much to cut off. They just said a 3x4 inch, but they didn't tell you like how to get to that area. So hopefully I helped in that respect, but that'll do it for this video. So thanks for watching.